Hi there, I am back. And as I promised in the last episode, when we addressed fear, I would get my head in order and put together a short episode on the opposite of fear, which is hope and trust. So, in the last episode, I explained what happens to us biologically when we are in a state of fear. We lock down and we don't trust anyone, and we are focusing on surviving that very moment. But luckily, in the workplace today, 9 times out of 10, 9.9 points out of 10, maybe, perhaps even, the fear that we feel are not like a life and death fear situation. It's not like we have a gun pointed at our head, luckily, or even chased by bears. So vast majority of the times that we are in a state of fear in the workplace is that we are fear of being excluded, or we are fear of being ridiculed, and not belonging. And for those of you who have followed all the episodes in my series, the whole thesis and the whole foundation behind what I call the global heart leaders and the heart-centered leadership is to address those exact emotions, right? So in order for us to flourish, we need to be seen, loved, and heard, and respected. And we also need to belong. Back in the day, belonging to a community or a group was absolutely essential for survival. It's not quite like that anymore. We can just sit in our houses and order Uber food. We don't even need to step outside. And hey, in 2025, we can even have an AI friend. But that is not how we initially were wired. And even though tech is developing quite rapidly, in the short run, the area that we are living in now is still such a small glimpse in the whole history of humankind. So we can't just assume and expect our biology to change at the blink of an eye. So we are still in that state where we need to feel that we belong to something bigger than ourselves. And if we are a careerist who loves to work and to perform, it's quite easily then to be, to identify yourself with work. And then all of a sudden, if you are in an untrusting environment where all of a sudden you might fear being kicked out of the company or lose your status or whatnot. And I mean, this is normal. We all have a sense of pride and we have ego. So it's not just to shut that down, it's just about being aware of it. And being in that sense, when you feel that, the fear that you feel in your current workplace is that for everything to just be, stripped away and your whole life will crumble, in front of you, which could be a life and death threatening situation in a sense, because it's your whole world as you know it at this very moment. So fear can be very, very real. And so, what then? How do we address this? So, because I promised to have some kind of a solution for you guys, and the key and the answer to that question is to create a trusting environment. But what does that then mean? A lot of us are talking about psychological safety, and yeah, but if you don't dig deep, it's just going to be bah, 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 one of those like corporate bullshit kind of lingo that goes in and out of fashion. But for me, at least, what it means is that it means that the culture of the company has to change, because you can have individual managers and leaders that really see the toxicity, but also try then to shield their team from the corporate toxic culture. And they can do a really good job, isolating your team in a bubble and nurturing them. And they feel that they are so safe and seen and respected when they share their views in a group. Brilliant. But how do you shift the whole organization? Because also, like I mentioned in a previous episode, being that manager that is shielding your team, you're creating wonders for your team, but you can get quite drained because you then are the shield that is battling off all the bad energies coming right, left, and center. So it can really be draining to you. So you need to be mindful about that. That's why the tone at the top is so incredibly important. And more companies really see this and identify this, and some company even goes as far as creating tribe-like cultures to protect and to really be super clear on what kind of behavior that is accepted here and what is not. So the way to create this trusting environment is for everyone to sign up on the rules. And because remember what I said about the whole fear thing? What also happens biologically is that we shut down. So if we put that fear then into a corporate context, just to explain what a non-trusting corporate culture and environment looks like, it is the fact that you're constantly suspicious. You know your worth, you know what you're good at, but you're constantly like playing the game. It's a lot of politics. It's you don't really trust anyone. You might come up with a good idea, but then you're like, can I put this on the table, or will someone else take credit for it, or someone else steal it? And even though I know if I know in my heart that it's me, we still need to be validated, seen, and feel like we are being appreciated. So it's not an ego thing wanting to get credit when credit is due. That is not, I don't think it's. I guess we all need to feel that in one way or another, but walking in around and having maybe the solutions to the future of mankind, and you don't want to share it because you don't trust your colleagues, and your boss is also really good at managing this stage of fear. So ultimately, it even translates to you not trusting your peers, and then you become very isolated and very lonely. And then you are spiraled into the zero sum game mindset that is like the opposite of growth and prosperity. It means that what is bad for me is good for someone else. It's not like I have to have my cards really close to my chest because, and see how things plan out. And this corporate bullshit and this politics and this suspicion is costing companies billions of dollars like every freaking day, because it's time wasted to playing the game rather than creating and innovating and working together as a team, and quite frankly having a lot of fun in the process. So how do you then move from the abundant mindset? And that's what I mean about the tone at the top. So if you are a CEO, if you're a business owner, if you're on the board, then you actually have the mandate and the power to change this. So creating a trusting culture, or to go like these role model companies now that really talk about tribe, it's all about transparency. You need to be super clear on in what direction the company is going, and then you need to be super clear what type of behaviors that you will honor and reward into getting to that, into stepping into that vision. And it's not just about writing how we should behave and how we should treat each other. No, actions speak louder than words. So, how do you reward people that are doing good things, and what is good things? Because the minute you start working at a new company, when you pass the honeymoon phase, then you really start to see how you are being rewarded. Is it by stabbing colleagues in the back? Is it by only focusing on top line? Is it like if you are in a division of a whole company that is actually a cost center rather than generating revenue, you're seen as an idiot? I mean, you see all these things quite clearly, and it's that mindset that I'm talking about, right? And I've also mentioned earlier on that whenever I was in a position of power, when I was a CEO of a company, I always hired people that I really, really believed in, that had great experience and skills, but that also had potential. And what does potential mean for me? Potential for me means a mindset. Because right now we are in a such fast-paced world that if we are going to hire a team that is going to innovate and crack the code to saving the planet, or whatnot, or the key to finding a way to have and produce and clear drinking water for everyone on the planet, I mean, that would be fantastic. But it has not been done yet. So how am I going to then hire someone who's done that before when it's never been done? And that's where the mindset come in. Are you curious? Are you a team player? And what attitudes do you have to learning and developing? So that's the potential part that it's so incredibly important. But then when you sit there and I have my top talents with super kick-ass attitudes, I then need to make them into a team. And how do you do that? Because they're freaking rock stars. And as I mentioned before, we have ego, we have a sense of pride, and that's fine. But that's where the whole self awareness comes into play. I know exactly when my ego pops up, and sometimes I have to bite my tongue because, why did I? Because I just felt that I needed to say something to validate that I knew it before, or that I have some thoughts on where it's going, but then does it add value, or is it just me wanting to like prove a point and like soothe my ego a bit, right? So it's fine, everyone has it. It's just be a bit mindful of it. But as a manager, then you then need to, if you have all these rock stars that has egos, you also need to make them into team players, or as we say in the corporate world, to put on the corporate hat instead of fighting like mad for your division, your products, your department. Because obviously that's kind of what you do, but from time to time, when there is a solution or a decision that needs to be made, that might cut your budget a bit, but it's better for the whole company as a whole. And if the company as a whole performs well, you will actually benefit in the long run as well. Just to be able to have those two mindsets and those ideas in your head simultaneously. And sometimes, well, quite frankly, choose your battles. And when you have a team that knows how to choose their battles, and also, the fact that you celebrate your victories and you lift people up that do well, then other people also wants to do well, and you get that mentality of actually cheering each other on. Because if I'm genuinely happy for my colleague doing a good job, it just feels so good when I succeed, because then I know that they generally are happy for me as well. And just to get that abundant mindset that if you got a reward for being the best marketing team of the year, then I can have another award another time. It's not that it's either him or me or her or me. It's okay, that hurt my ego a bit, but for the greater good of the team, Jesus Christ, this is going to take us to the next level. And it's about building that kind of feeling of community that is so important. And also then uplift and highlight these people that really have this integral, feelings and mindsets and skills. Because then if you as a CEO, board member or owner address these people and see them, it's then a really strong signal to everyone else in the company. It's like, oh, in order to be recognized around here, I need to be a bit more like him or her. And that's how you build that structure. But trust is a fine line. I mean, being transparent on and explaining for an individual, okay, this is your growth journey, this is the end goal, and you continuous feedback, you iterate, and then if you don't get that humongous raise at the end of the year, it should not come as a surprise, because having that continuous feedback and dialogue, you should be on the same page. And it's when you have those gaps in expectations, that's when bitterness and kicks in, or no one really sees me or recognizes me for my work. So what I'm saying is not easy. It's about relationships, it's about communication between people, and that is the most difficult thing there is, because you can say something with your best interest at heart, but it's always a bit difficult to determine and how that land and how that is being received and perceived by the counterpart, right? So having this dialogue, and also as a manager, also step back and admit if there were some errors and wrongdoings. That is also part of building the trust that, what, I bet on this horse, and looking back, I was quite firm. I was maybe a bit difficult to work with at times because I really, really believed it. But now new data is on the table, new circumstances, and I just realized, I need actually to change this a bit. I need to amend this my mindset, and we need to take on a slightly different course. And just to be able to admit that, because things are so chaotic these days that no one really knows. No one really knows what's going to happen tomorrow. And I mean, just 10 years ago, I was a CEO of a company and we did 5-year plans and they were pretty much spot on. And now, can we even do a 5-month plan without huge amendments, right? So gone are the days where we know exactly how things are going to pan out. So just let go of that pride and just take pride in realizing when you need to amend. Take pride in realizing when you need to change and do it. And pat yourself on the back for having the guts to change course when that is due. So this is how you build the trust. Admit that you are not perfect. Highlight and reward the behaviors that you really want to, see more of in your organization, and try to get that abundant mindset that what's good for the company is good for everyone. Then you are on off to a really, really good start. Yeah, I hope my experiences and thoughts and views on this has helped clear it a bit more. And there's obviously tons of literature that you can nosedive into and learn more. But also, hey, I'm here if there's anything you want to discuss. I'm just a quick tweet, email, and or text message away, because yeah, that's what Global Hot Leaders is all about: creating awareness on how to build better, sustainable companies, like for the long run, with human-centric focus. So yeah, wishing you all a lovely day and good luck with your corporate culture work.